All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fort Worth Community Arts Center and another edition of our Boxed Lunch episode.
Yes.
Today, we are so excited to be focusing on our original work series, 9 great scripts, more than 9 great authors. And today we have 2 of those fantastic artisans with us, working on their new premiere musical. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Katreeva Phillips and Nicholas Zebrun. Is that right, Nick?
Zebrun.
Gotcha. How are you 2 doing today?
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Well, it is so great to see you both. So very excited to have you here on Boxed Lunch. And before we get started, do you 2 mind taking just a moment, introducing yourselves and telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do? Katreeva, would you like to start us off?
Sure. My name is Katreeva. I'm a filmmaker and composer, former actress. Sometimes when I feel like it, I'm an actress sometimes, but but primarily I compose and write movies and have as much fun as I possibly want with those fields. I'm also a lighting designer, and sometimes I get to tour around when there's not a pandemic going on. So yeah, that's what I get to do.
And I am Nicholas Zebrun. I'm a Fort Worth-based filmmaker, playwright, composer, sometimes actor, and yeah. And I was the co-writer with Katreeva on this.
Yes. Now, Nicholas, I'm going to put you on the spot because I often stalk our interviewees on social media before we actually do these interviews. I am dying to know. We have a mayor opening coming up here in Fort Worth. And did I read this correctly that approximately 10 years you threw your hat into the ring 10 years ago?
The Fort Worth mayoral election of 2011, I was one of 5 candidates. It was the election that first elected Betsy Price. It was her, Jim Lane, Kathy Hurt, and Dan Barrett, and myself. And it was such a beautiful, unique, interesting experience, largely because I got to tour Fort Worth, got to go to places I never thought I'd see, meet with people who were wonderful, and specifically representatives of the community who were wonderful. And like I said in that Facebook post, I would argue 50%, maybe more, of the people I know now and I work with frequently are either a direct or indirect result of me running for mayor. It opened up so many wonderful opportunities, let me meet so many people, including vicariously, eventually, this woman, Katreeva. So it's been, it was a journey. It's amazing that it was 10 years ago already, but yes, yeah, it was wild.
That is so incredibly cool. I know a lot of people talk about it, and I'm not going to put you on the spot with your age, but you appear to me to be a fairly youthful lad. And I'm guessing 10 years ago, just what an incredible journey. And, you know, I just really, really applaud you jumping off of that ledge and throwing your hat into that ring. So I am just overjoyed that that you did that, and just moving off into the political field is something that oftentimes a lot of artists don't do. I'm curious, and we'll talk more specifics about your submission this year. Are you going to write a musical about your marrying experiences?
Yes, he is.
Not a musical. Not a musical. I've considered, though, writing a book about it, a novel, because there were plenty of surreal, bizarre, interesting, funny things that happened that if they didn't happen to me, I wouldn't have believed that they actually could happen. But, life is stranger than fiction sometimes. And that was certainly one of those things.
Well, you 2, I have to say, bring the goods every time. And last year, you were kind enough to submit to us another musical called To Catch a Predator. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. And here we sit this year with a brand new submission from both of you, which we will get to here in just a little bit. Before we delve into all of those wonderful little tidbits, I'm curious, Katreeva, what is on your lunch menu today?
What's in your mouth, Katreeva, right now?
I did. I timed that perfect, didn't I?
Just lunch. I made spaghetti last night, and I was too scared to cook while we were being interviewed because I burned things just by looking at them the wrong way. So if I was looking this way and food was behind me, I guarantee you the house would burn down. So I made spaghetti last night with chicken.
Nice. Chicken spaghetti. Nothing better than that. Nicholas, what's on your menu?
So, like Katreeva, I don't cook. You don't want me cooking. However, my lovely, wonderful, talented girlfriend, Karen Matheny, who I believe you saw in another original work series this year, How We Met and Otherwise We Tell Our Parents, she was featured in that. She went Little House on the Prairie last night and made homemade bread.
Wow.
And it's so good, and she makes from it a wonderful grilled cheese sandwich. So she very graciously made me this grilled cheese sandwich. I don't like grilled cheese sandwiches, but this is good. And you can see, like, the cheese is baked in to the crust.
Ooh.
So she goes above and beyond.
Wow. Delicious. Very exciting. Well, I'm having finger sandwiches today. And that will make a little more sense as we move into the interview. And since we're all showing off already at the top of it, I'm just going to go ahead and show mine. And there are 7 of them. So we will find out the subliminal meaning behind that very shortly. So, all right. So the 2 of you are on your second show that was submitted for the original work series. Are these the only 2 shows that you 2 have written together, last year's submission and this year's submission? Or do you guys have like a whole little closet full of in process or never seen before scripts? What keeps bringing you 2 together?
Masochism.
Money.
Excuse me.
No, so this musical we wrote could be classified as a children's musical. The one we wrote right before it was another children's musical called The Boy Who Cried Giant.
Yeah.
And so we've collaborated on, film, stage plays.
Yeah. We were gonna write a Christmas musical as well. What was the breakdance song? This is our break dance, because the elves were on break from making toys. So
the song is called the break dance song.
The break dance. Yeah, we collaborated a lot. We met on set when he hired me to be an actress about how long ago? About 5?
It's been 5 years. 5 years.
And he was playing piano on set, and I had been asked by Tyler Cochran, like, hey, if you know anybody that wants to write To Catch a Predator, I have the libretto and the lyrics. And I was like, I want to do it. Let me find a partner. And so I was just going, thinking like, who would I, collaborate with that I would work well with? And Nick was playing piano on the set, and I was like, I really like working with Nick. So I was like, hey, Nick, you want to write To Catch Predator, the musical? And he's like, sure, let's do it.
I never read the musical, so I'm like, let's do it. The subject matter is fun.
It was so I guess, it was the first musical for both of us to write.
Yeah.
And we just gelled so well while working together that I opened a children's theater the following year, or maybe it was that year. And I had challenged myself. I liked working on that musical with him so much. I was like, I'm going to write into the season for the next 2 years, 2 original musicals for this children's theater, or I can't remember however many it was. But we just got together and wrote a couple of other children's musicals, and just had a blast with it.
Well, what I was thinking of, because seeing you on screen, you have another submission this year in the original work series, your musical Dominique and the Marsh. And that actually started with the 2 of us co-composing simultaneously we're going to co-compose both Dominique and Snow White interchangeably.
Right.
And then Snow White took precedent, and in the interim, your vision for Dominique evolved and became very singular, and to the point where it's one of the few times we didn't necessarily see the same vision.
Right.
So I bowed out, and you completed on your own. But I think it's kind of beautifully poetic that both are going to be featured in this year's original work series.
Yeah.
Like the two shows that started as twins are going to be seen finally.
I didn't even think about that. That's such a good point. Yeah,
that is really cool. So,
Yeah.
so on that same note, do you guys take a book of Grimm's fairy tales or Hans Christian Andersen? What is it about these fables that keeps pulling you guys into them?
I think for the Boy Who Cried Giant. Ouch! Sorry, I have a new kitten. The Boy Who Cried Giant. She's hopping up here like a brat. Okay, come here. Come here. Come here. Okay. For Boy That Cried Giant and for Snow White, I'd already written some parody children's musicals for the children's theater. Like I would do If You Give a Shrew a Cookie, which was based on the Taming of the Shrew, but it was all it was for kids. And that was all done to Queen music. You know, I changed the lyrics to sound Shakespearean. And so all of those shows followed with, you know, fairy tales. And so I just thought, okay, these next two, these original musicals that we'll write need to be according to fairy tales as well. So Dominique was also just because that's a whole other thing, but yeah, that's how it kind of was that way.
It also helps they're in the public domain.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, it's free. It's already written.
I think they work well, and you mentioned Shakespeare. I think they work well, the fairy tales, because they've been interpreted so many times over the centuries.
Mm-hmm.
They're very elastic in their telling, and the moral lessons you can glean from them. And when you're writing children's theater, you need a moral lesson. They're elastic, but they're ingrained into the story itself. So you don't really have to go searching for one. They're there, and they're very adaptable. And they're also easy to understand for children because they're so, you know, usually black and white in what they're trying to teach you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess without further ado, do you two mind telling us the name of your submission this year and just a little bit about what it's about?
Yeah, it's called 1, 2, 3.
Snow
White
and the Seven Doubts.
That came out right or whatnot, but
It didn't.
We should have tested for delay and then choreographed something, you know. Sorry, so unprofessional. But
Do you want to tell me about Katreeva?
Fine on my end.
go ahead.
Snow White and the Seven Doubts, the musical, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why that story? And tell us a little bit about maybe some of the inspiration and alterations that may have come from it.
I think I was running out of fairy tales. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. Snow White was always one of my favorite stories growing up, and I do love to twist the stories when I was running Billy's just a little bit to more of a modern take, you know. So she's more of a feminist in this one. She's very strong and independent, and that's why the doubts comes in. Because I was trying to find like what rhymes with what starts with, you know, what's a one syllable that could be relevant to, you know, to the fairy tale. I was like, doubt, you know, so I came up with doubts and kind of just formed from there. Yeah, so the queen sends doubts to Snow White to make her feel insecure and not and unfit to run the queen/kingdom. Yeah.
Right. I would say of all the musicals we've written, I think in terms of personality, this one best reflects us. Like that's one of the great things about
it. It's so sarcastic.
It's sarcastic, but it's a little sweet. You get a lesson out of it, but then you can leave and you don't feel like you're beaten over the head. I remember when you came to me with the title, I'm like, this is the new musical. And I thought, oh, that's clever, because there are so many ways we could take that with the doubts. And it took us a while to break down how we were going to show the doubts. Like, because when you have 7 doubts, like you can't, and you're doing with a limited number of people, you can't necessarily have a cast that includes 7 people individually as doubts. Yeah. So breaking it down was certainly a creative challenge, but it turned out really well.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely think it reflects us, and it was nice working within those limitations as well. And it was cool because this was one, I don't know if Giant was this way. Giant was all collab, but Snow White, you wrote a couple songs on your own, and I tweaked the lyrics a little bit, and then I wrote the ballad on my own, and then you would tweak the lyrics. I think that's why we work so well together. It's never like you're the composer and I'm the lyricist. We credit each other as the same, even partners. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And it's nice that we think very similarly about things, so that even though we're composing separately, when we bring it together, it doesn't sound like a total mishmash of random stuff. It sounds
consistent. We write with each other in mind, even when we're separate. I agree.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you two?
You know how to show each other up.
I know. That's true too.
Are you finishing each other's sentences yet?
We've done that.
Have we?
We definitely say the same things at the same time, plenty of times.
That's, yeah, what we say can't be repeated here, so.
There's recordings.
Katreeva, you mentioned the music of Queen being an inspiration for a show. How would you define the musical stylings of this particular piece, Snow White and the 7 Doubts?
I think both of us love classic rock, like more the bluesy, jazzy side of things. Nick tends to gravitate more towards the blues, and I grew up more like Led Zeppelin, and so we, harder rock, but also musical theater. And Nick as well with musical theater. So I think there's definitely some allusions to Elton John. Elton John, your dad was like, "This is an Elton John song, Nick."
Well, I grew up studying Elton John's chord progressions, Billy Joel, Queen.
Yeah.
So those, it's definitely kind of classic rock song. I will say there's one song in there that was inspired by Sondheim that I wasn't expecting to come out, but it exists, and I'm not gonna say which one it is, but that's also it divvies up, it differs the flavor of the music slightly with that one.
And I think it's, if we're thinking of the same one, then it's I think it comes at a good point too.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the one with 32 voices.
Yeah.
It's the patter song, yeah. And the key of M.
No spoilers. We'll let people figure it out on their own for sure. Right. So I'm curious, as authors and 2 people that really seem to enjoy the musical genre, do you feel it's important to thread some of those different musical stylings in there? Are you a purist at heart when it comes to musical theater, or do you think it's important to be able to broaden what people assume to be a style of musical theater? I know that jukebox musicals have really started opening the door to not only just pop songs, but things that are a little bit more prominent in the radio and things like that. Is that a choice, and is there a decision-making process in trying to pull that musical genre onto a stage?
Well, I think the way that I like to write, I want it to be my own, or I want it to be mine and my partner's. And I will never, I don't want to say never, but it would take a lot for me to write around trying to be relevant. I want something to last. I want it to sound new. I want it to sound exciting and challenging, but I'm not going to write for the time. I'm going to write to last. I don't think that any larger than names like Sondheim and Angela Weber did a little bit, I think, but who else could I think of? Like Rodgers and Hammerstein weren't writing for the time. They were the time. They were a large contribution to the golden age of musical theater. And so, yeah, I definitely want it to be heard in a way that people find it to be relevant versus, oh yeah, this is relevant. You know, I want them to discover that this is something new and that needs to continue.
Yeah. I mean, that's excellent answer. I agree 100%. I don't like strict, rigid rules on anything artistic, really.
Mm-hmm.
Art is here to help us, to get us through things, to appeal to our emotions. And you know what? If you want to mix and match and go kind of crazy and redefine things, that's how art evolves. So no, I mean, but to echo Katreeva, I agree. It's about making something that lasts, because that's how art continues in perpetuity, passed on from generation to generation. Hopefully inspiring generations as they go on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to see paradigm shift, and you know, you can see that throughout the history of musical theater, and just to look at the pockets and how and what altered and shaped that next kind of movement always seems to be a blend, if you will, and then in that cooking or crock pot, a new style seems to emerge and kind of come up front for a while. So I'm really curious, as playwrights, how has your playwriting been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in this last 12 months?
You want to take that first?
Well, it hasn't gotten produced, so there's that. It's interesting because I find myself, at least personally, with sort of a paradoxical problem, which is, because of lockdown, because of being in isolation, I have lots of time, and yet because of that, it feels like you don't have enough time to finish and do what you want to do. I've got numerous things in various stages of production, pre-production, shows that I'm almost done writing. But of course, there haven't been many venues available, aside from things like this, where you do Zoom readings, where you can present it. So I think that's been the most immediate impact, is simply having to put on the back burner all these projects that you'd hope to get made, and then suddenly having to pull back a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple of things that were canceled this year that were in production. There was one project that I had that was going to be produced in New York, and I was going to move up there for 3 or 4 months during the process and maybe stay up there, find a job. I like 2020 was my year, like everyone else. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. My career's gonna take off. I'm gonna do some more touring. And then everything got canceled. There's 2 or 3 productions that I had that were just like down the drain. But it has I have improved in writing, absolutely, for sure. I'm writing my first full-length screenplay, and Nick and I have been talking. I've been like picking his brain about it because he's an incredible screenwriter, and so he's been kind of coaching me. Well, you are. Shut up. No, you really are helping me, solidify what I want to do with the screenplay, and that's one project that I'm working on right now that I probably wouldn't have ever gotten to if this hadn't happened. So it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because I learned a lot about myself and what I actually really do enjoy. And I'm really enjoying writing. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, I find it so interesting. You say that everything's canceled. That's not entirely true. I think when I was stalking your social media page, I might have actually seen a trailer to a movie that you're starring in. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is my first feature length to be in and have the lead role. We were really, really careful about filming. We stayed together, all of us. It was only 5 on the crew, and there's only 4 actors, and 2 of them were helped on the crew as well. And we had a sound guy and a PA, and we got our test, and then we quarantined until we started shooting. We shot for 10 straight days, and we were only in contact with each other. We had to travel out to Odessa and Alpine and Terlingua and Marfa, and got a few hotel rooms, and just just kept in contact with each other. We were really careful. We would do the temperature check every day. It was a really good experience. So that wasn't canceled, and I was really happy about that. So
nice. I spent a little time down in Odessa. Does coronavirus live in Odessa? I thought for sure
A
burn
lot of
it
people
off.
don't think it does, but really like 6 people live there, so
Exactly.
all right.
So, Katreeva, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. What's the name of the film, and is there a website link, or how can people go and check it out?
It's in post-production right now, but we have an Indiegogo for it. It's called sorry, not the Marfalites, the Ghost Lights, and it's about the Marfalites. And I can send you a link to the Indiegogo because that's going to go on for another month or so, and we're on our way to the 50% goal at this point.
Nice.
Yeah, they're doing really well. It's with Spectrograph Films. They're an incredible team. They're a lot of fun, and they make incredible movies, and I'm always glad to be able to work with them. So go visit the Indiegogo and make sure that everyone, on the post-production team can get paid and we can get it out to the public. So
Absolutely. So during the lockdowns and the shutdowns, and really just this last year in general, do you two send each other snippets, ideas, maybe a few bars from your iPhone about what about this? How's that going? What's your writing process been like during all of this for the two of you specifically?
you go ahead, Nick. I've been chatting it up.
Yeah, you have. Oh, that's horrible.
I just that's all.
I mean, I don't know how much has changed outside of we haven't met up a lot. In fact, I haven't seen you in a year, and I had to come over the other day to record some stuff. So we haven't had the one-on-one communication.
Oh, you froze up. Did you freeze up?
He'll come back to us.
Okay.
See, that's what happens. Katreeva, that's what happens when you let him talk. He just totally, there he is.
Talk frequently. Okay. I feel like that was a sign I should stop talking.
Take 2, Nicholas. Hit us with that again.
But I don't know how much has actually changed that much outside of not seeing each other in person.
Right.
So we still talk frequently, and like she said, I've been reading her script and offering some notes, and we've been talking about another musical and all sorts of things. So there's been no loss of communication between us. It's just the distance that's been put between us through this.
Absolutely.
And does that make things easier? Are you allowed, or are you enabled, I should say, to maybe hang on to a piece a little longer before you send it, or before you get feedback from it? Or do you find that hurts your process by not having the feedback in the immediacy of that creative process?
I don't think it's hurt either of our creative processes. It's definitely just 2 different types of, obviously, communication. I do miss being in the room all the time with Nick because we just feed off each other so well and hardly ever get anything done. The only reason it takes so long for us to complete anything is because we talk each other's ears off for hours, write a song, and they're like, let's call it a night. Like, we're supposed to write 5 tonight. It's been 6 hours. And we're just laughing and giggling and whatnot. We're just 2 buddies just giggling with each other. But it's just different, just communicating online. But I still send him ideas. I have an idea for another musical I want to write with him, or I want us to write together. And just constantly talking about different ideas that we still want to share. That's it. We still want to share with each other regardless of where we are and how we can communicate. We still want to collaborate and work together.
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm really curious in regards to not just playwriting, but as artists in general. I know you're both multifaceted and talented. Is the muse staying with you through all of this? Are you finding more inspiration as artists as we find our way through these crazy times? Or is it harder to pull that artistic muse up and out of you? How are you doing as artists in terms of being able to just stay motivated to continue?
You want to go first, Nick?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Like I said before, this is the first, like, I started writing a screenplay about a month ago, and this is the first time that I've written a full screenplay like alone. Because I've done a couple short films before, and they were all like, I collaborated with Nick, was a co-writer on one of my first short films. Another short film I wrote was with a friend of mine that I was quarantining with. But this is the first one that I've written entirely alone, and it's a full length. And I'm really actually enjoying it. I didn't think that anything would really develop from it because I don't trust myself to write adult conversations. I'm usually a really good children's writer. I was like, I don't have adult conversations. How am I going to write these down to be effective? But for some reason, geez, goodness gracious, sorry, this freaking cat. Goodness, what was I saying? Get down, please. Really, I don't know. I've really found a voice in this specific project that I have that I didn't think I had, and so that's what's kept me motivated. Of like, oh, okay, this feels good. This is right, and this feels like it could be good. And so that, like, discovering something new about myself has kept me motivated, because I can see it happening as well. Like, I want to start shooting this year, and I have friends that want to be a part of it, and so that's also another motivator. Is friends supporting you, for sure, wanting to see your work.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound too dismissive, I don't think the muse has left. I've actually, in an odd way, kind of appreciated the isolation and solitude, because it's actually given me time to pull out those dusty screenplays and stuff that I've been working on or I put to the side and re-engage them. And also, being isolated, what have we been doing? Watching movies, binge watching stuff. And honestly, towards the end of like 2019, I got really burned out because I was doing so many projects to just fill time, but I didn't find anything fulfilling in them. And so being alone and being able to engage with myself and be introspective, and then of course rewatching movies I haven't seen in 10, 15 years.
I was just
not be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
It actually re-inspires me. It actually has re-engaged my passion to get these things done, but also like that spark that initially started when I was, a kid watching movies passionately and wanted to do that. So, it's sort of a mixed bag, but I haven't hated it for that reason, because I don't feel the muse has left. It's actually made me refocus and double down.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah, quite inspiring. We've really seen a lot of imaginative progression over the last 12 months. And it's been very inspiring for me, not only to have an opportunity to talk to so many artists, but really just see how things have evolved. I really assumed in my head it would all be, two-dimensional film on your phone and TVs. And I really have been inspired to see how everyone's really kind of found a way to move through this and continue to create, because it's really been the glue that I know personally has held me together. And a lot of that vault kind of art has been released, and looking back on so many great things that I just don't know if I ever would have had the opportunity to see, the Royal Shakespeare Company and all of that kind of stuff that was released to give us some things to do. How did the two of you see art continuing to evolve through this, as we are now moving into vaccinations, relaxing some of the safety protocols? How do you see the arts continuing to adapt?
Go ahead, Nick. Okay.
I mean, I think in regards to, say, like theater and stuff, we've seen innovation, and we're hearing about things like going back to more outdoor shows and social distancing that way, which is beautiful. I know a theater company who's been doing radio podcasts in lieu of a production, which is so innovative. And as an old-time radio guy, I like that. I honestly think, I could be 100% wrong, I think Zoom in some strange way, virtual readings are going to still remain a thing. Maybe it'll be a niche thing, but it'll be a thing, because the idea that you can have a multinational cast in a show and they can be performing in their own country, or a statewide cast and they're performing in their own state, this might not be theater as we recognize it, but it's become a form of theater. So I see those innovations. And of course, with film, that's a whole evolving thing because of streaming. So the art's there. And actually, it's more ubiquitous and prevalent than ever, which is great. If the pandemic's done one thing good for the arts, and it's done, I would argue, some good things, it's made us appreciate them and made people allow them to seek it out and present it in different ways that otherwise wouldn't have existed pre-pandemic.
I agree. I think it made, in some ways, the performing arts stronger because we found a way to. You're not going to keep us down. We're going to find a way to continue to get our art out there. And definitely with the streaming thing, it's like, what was it that Scorsese said, that like a streaming service should not be something that was first streamed on like Netflix or something should not be considered for, for the Academy Awards and whatnot. And obviously that has had to have changed because the majority of the movies that were going to come out last year had to go straight to Netflix or HBO. But again, yeah, I think it definitely made the art stronger in that regard because we sought out ways to continue it for sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, we are so very excited to share this particular piece of art with everyone this upcoming Thursday. I have a random question before we wrap things up. Without giving too many spoilers away, Katreeva, I'm curious, which one is your favorite doubt?
The last one.
The last one. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Nicholas, what about you?
Oh, heck. Well, I can't even remember them all. I would. Well, darn it, Katreeva. Actually, I would say, yeah, the last one. It's definitely there's a culmination there that's kind of perfect.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it at that and encourage everyone to tune in this Thursday on the Fort Worth Community Arts Center's Facebook page. I'm ready for lunch. I think Katreeva finished hers.
I'm good. I'm going to take a nap.
And any words of wisdom or final thoughts for all of our wonderful viewers out there from either one of you?
No.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the show. It's a labor of love for us. I mean, it was such a joy to compose it. And we got to give a shout out real quick to Tyler Simpson, our editor, who did a great job. It's just a fun, beautiful little show that we're very proud of. And I hope that anyone watching, art inspires other artists. So I hope that this musical inspires someone out there to go and compose. That would be the wonderful thing. That'd be a great legacy for it.
Yeah.
For sure.
The kids will love this one.
I gotta say, after To Catch a Predator, I ripped open the envelope when it came in. I was like, ooh.
Well, this is a 180, so
maybe even more. Yeah.
Well, we are so very grateful to both of you, and again, just so very excited to have an opportunity to share this story. So thank you to both of you, and just very, very excited for everyone to tune in this upcoming Thursday and check out another great piece of work by the two of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, of course, my pleasure. Yeah. And I can't say it enough. You've all kept me alive this year, and I can't believe here we are a year later, almost to the day.
Yeah.
And it's just great to see both of you. And we're just so anxious to share all of these great submissions by these wonderful, talented people. So, all right, folks, this is where we lift our plates and sign off. That wraps up another edition of our Box Lunch episode. We'll be back next Monday with a brand new one. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to everyone out there. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.